Hill had an amazing 23 minutes. Kyler Murray is in fact human. Austin Eckler is back with a vengeance. And what the hell are we going to do with Alvin Kamara? Welcome into the Dynasty Mafia Podcast, everybody. It's just Kenan and I tonight. We are Sones, Eric, our knight in shining armor.
Wow.
I don't know.
It feels weird. It feels weird, honestly. But, Eric will definitely be missed today. But we'll try to get through this without him. Might be a little tough, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, like I said, knight in shining armor is Eric, and we are missing him. He has some other obligations this week. So, yes, Kenan, he will be missed. But we do have a jam-packed show today. Kenan and I got a lot to talk about. We're going to just talk about some football, talk about some players, some headlines for Week 12 and maybe going into Week 13. We have our stresses and impresses. We're going to bring in some DFS. It's Friday. Everyone's going into the weekend. We know DFS is now one of the hot topics for Sundays. So we're going to bring in some of our lineups too.
Yeah, maybe we could win. Maybe we could win our listeners some money. Yeah,
that'd be nice. We love getting some commissions out of that.
Yeah, we take what 60% nowadays.
At least because our hit rate's fantastic. That's why we're bringing this into the show now. But we have like I said, we have a lot going on today. So it's gonna be Kenan and I, Bonnie and Clyde, Sonny and Cher, the yin to my yang. So it's gonna be a fun ride. How was your week, buddy?
It was good. Actually, it was really stressful at work. I'm not gonna lie. Work's been kind of beating me up, so I was pretty excited about this show. Kind of get my mind off work and back into football mode. What about you, buddy?
Well, that's more of the reason for us to win some DraftKings money.
Hey,
so you can stop having to work.
And,
I had an interesting week too. I'd agree. It's been pretty tiring. Getting into the dead of winter too when it starts getting dark at like 5 o'clock. Just before I get out of work, I'm like, wow, it's just so depressing.
Yeah.
But it's and then you're stuck in the house really because of the cold, and then we got COVID. So we're getting into it, man. We're getting into the weeds.
It was nice to have that Wednesday afternoon game, I guess. I mean, you really couldn't watch it, but because of work, but I watched it. So
yeah, I was actually home Wednesday, so that did wind up working out for me. But you're right, generally no. And then we got a doubleheader for Mondays this week, and then we have a game on Tuesday. So COVID is really, really hitting us in the last couple of weeks. We had a lot of big players out in Week 12, and we have another couple players that are on the fence or have returned from COVID, like J.K. Dobbins. But players like Josh Jacobs are going to be out this week. So you have your Devontae Bookers out there. He had a good week last week. I know 2 weeks ago he had a lot of carries in one of their blowouts. Was he a top priority for you this week, regardless? Because we kind of knew Jacobs was on the fence with his injury.
No, he was second or third on my list. Depends if Cam Akers was available. Cam Akers was number one for me. It just seems like Cam Akers is starting to get more touches there in LA. And if they somehow let him get the ball more there, I think he's an RB1, RB2 there for anyone in any league. But my second one was Benny Snells. I thought he's really, really important, especially because he has showed that he can carry a backfield when Connors was out in the past. So with him being out maybe multiple weeks, I went with him at number 2. So
yeah, especially they're playing the Jets. It was so mouth-watering for Josh Jacobs owners, especially when you're looking for a big win this week. So hopefully you're able to grab Booker at least earlier for your waivers on that. And I agree with a lot with what you were saying there, Kenan. I just want to talk about him quick because that news did come out today. Yesterday, rather. I know the episode is going to be out on Saturday. Like I said, we are recording on Friday. But Kenny Golladay is going to miss another week with his hip as expected. Clyde Edwards-Helaire missed practice yesterday due to an illness. Did you go quickly and pick up Le'Veon Bell like I saw a lot of people do?
No, I didn't. I was too late. I think I saw the news 20 minutes after it broke, and every league that Bell was available, he was gone. So I wasn't lucky enough to see that. But whoever did pick him up, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out for this week or longer, depending what that illness is, man, Bell, he could be a league winner, or get you that important win this week to get you into the playoffs.
Yeah, he definitely could be. It doesn't sound like it's COVID. It really did just sound like yeah. I think he might. Truly was just sick. So yeah. I'm sure we'll hear more Saturday, and I'm sure he'll be in just fine. Daniel Jones is ruled out for. There's an uncertain timetable of what's going on with Daniel Jones.
Who's the backup there?
Ooh, I'm not even pause.
Colt McCoy.
It is. Yeah, it is Colt McCoy. Yeah, but Daniel Jones hurt his hamstring. So, what's your thoughts on Wayne Gallman, who's been doing really well with the heavy workload? Probably will continue. What's going on with Wayne?
I love him. At least I loved him before this injury. At least with Daniel Jones, he can. I mean, we haven't seen Colt McCoy throw the ball in so long. With Daniel Jones, at least he has that arm strength to throw numbers down the field, or throw the ball down the field. Excuse me. So it'll be interesting what defenses do. Are they going to stack the box and stop the run game all together, or I mean, it could work either. It could work both ways. Goldman could get a bunch of receptions, because Colt McCoy isn't throwing the ball to his wide receivers. So. But I'm starting him this week because I have no other option. So fingers crossed.
Who? Oh, Gallman.
Yeah.
Well, what about the Giants? Well, he's playing Seattle this week. They're in Seattle. I mean, you have to assume it's going to be a negative game script. They're probably going to be playing from behind.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Giants have had a underrated defense as of later, at least especially in the passing game. We're going to talk a little bit more about that game later, but I wanted to highlight how good they've been against the pass. The whole season, they've only allowed 300-yard receivers, two of which were Terry McLaurin and Cam Sims, so the Washington football team. So it was in the same game just 2 weeks ago. The other one is CeeDee Lamb earlier in the season. But the other crazy stat to me, they've only allowed 12 wide receivers to top 50 yards. Or I'm sorry, just 12 pass catchers, because on that list is Richard Rodgers, as well as Richard Rodgers was the only tight end, but he was on there twice. I'm sorry. Yeah. So 2 out of those games was him over 50 yards. So the rest were wide receivers. But I mean, they're doing really well against number ones. I think Tyler Lockett's going to have a good week. Like I said, we'll talk more about that game later. But focusing on Wayne Gallman, focusing on the Giants in general, do you like any of them anymore? Are you done with any of them? Evan Ingram, I guess, having his big week.
I'm scared. I'm not. I'm staying away from the Giants, Antonio.
Yeah, I'm good with that too.
Yeah, they haven't done anything all year, so
they're never on much of a radar. You're right. Okay. And Jones is fighting for his life, and who knows what they're going to do next season with one of the top picks. But speaking of a top pick, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be a game time decision. I am in the belief Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be starting. I had him as my stream. How about you, Kenan? Who do you think is going to be playing with Tua's thumb injury?
I think it's Fitz. I don't think they'd take any chances with Tua. Especially because it's his throwing hand, right? Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a Bills fan, start him. Let's maybe you guys maybe they could lose to Cincinnati if Tua isn't 100%. But I mean, he struggled his last game where he was healthy before he got injured and they pulled him. So,
exactly.
Right? So start Fitz. And make sure the kid's healthy. He's already battled enough the last year with that hip injury that he suffered in Alabama. Let's get through the season here for if I'm a Miami fan with a healthy Tua for the offseason.
So are you happy as a Devontae Parker owner if Fitzpatrick is playing because he had 14 targets over 100 yards last week?
Well, Devontae Parker, he's one of my impressions this week. I really don't care who the starter is, just because, I mean, Tua's been targeting Parker, but also with Fitzy in there, I think Parker takes a level up, takes a higher level, and becomes closer to a wide receiver 1 there with Fitzy. So either way, I'm starting Parker this week, especially against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I 100% can back that. And as a Dolphins organization, like, you're winning with Fitzpatrick. This shouldn't be that hard of a game for you.
Yeah.
You just keep playing Fitzpatrick. You don't want to hurt your future season. You are doing well. You have a chance for the playoffs, and Tua is obviously going to be your starter when healthy. But
let's be honest,
give him the chance.
Fitzy should have never been pulled to start with. So.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong, but I can understand why they did it. And that defense has been on fire, so they're going to keep going along with that. And Myles Gaskin's supposed to be returning potentially. They have not had a run game at all without him. So if he's returning, are you starting him?
Yes, he's played very well this year. I think you can. I think you're impressed with him. Last year you were a hater of him, and I told you he was going to turn the corner this year when I picked him up after Barkley went down, and I told him I was going to ride with him as an RB2. But I've been impressed with him, and I think, did they say that Matt Breida was out too due to COVID?
Yeah, everybody's out. So
Breida's
out.
They got to start him, and if they do, you got to play him. Especially once again, he's playing the Bengals. I can see Miami going up on the Bengals. If Joe Burrow was in there, it'd be a different story, I think. But I could see Miami being up by a couple scores and then just running the ball.
Yeah, he's got double-digit PPR points in every game but one. Yeah. So I think
really
he's going to get a workload.
Yeah.
He really has been. And like I said to you, though, I didn't hate the guy last season. The problem was I had him on many dynasty leagues and then dropped him in the offseason.
And then I picked him up. But in our big league, in our WWE league, I was in second or first place before he went down. And once he went down, I couldn't replace him, which is crazy. I replaced Barkley, and then I can't replace, a player that I picked up on free agency. So, and then I went 0-3 or 0-4 without him in the lineup. So, wow. So I'm excited to get him back. And I need to win this week. I'm in the last playoff spot. I have Dennis Buck on my coattail.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of somebody coming back, Josh Gordon got reinstated
again,
fifth time for the fifth time. So, welcome back, Josh Gordon. I think week 16, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard, or that's what I read. Week 16. Don't think that he's going to make a huge impact right away. Look at Antonio Brown. Has he really made an impact in Tampa Bay with two top receivers there? Once again, he's in Seattle. He's not going to come in and replace Lockett or DK. So don't look for Gordon to make a huge impact there.
Well, yeah, and it's week 16.
Yeah.
We're playing the Rams championship week. Don't waste a roster spot. Yeah. If you're in Dynasty, somebody probably already had him. I'd throw a third round pick in there.
Yeah.
Maybe a fourth. I know nobody's going to get up for that, but the third round pick is the reason why that's tough still is because of how deep this class will be. But I still might toss it for something that he could be in that offense. Julio Jones is really, really frustrating owners the last few weeks. And it's also frustrating the Calvin Ridley owners because he's obviously had a little bit of a negative track record when Julio's not playing.
And Matt Ryan owners too.
And Matt Ryan owners. Thank you. So I lean towards the fact that Julio's going to play. Yeah. He's never sat 2 games in a row, without being out a whole season.
And you saw him come back with that hammy injury in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
I think it was a 4th down play. He comes into the game, gets a first down, and has to get carried off the field.
Priceless. That's Julio, though.
Yeah.
But I think Calvin Ridley, at least the last 2 weeks, has put some of that to bed. Yeah. With having 90 yards and then having 50 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Obviously not the Julio-esque 180-yard games, but like I said, I think Julio's coming back. They're going to play New Orleans again. Are you firing up Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Todd Gurley?
Well, Todd Gurley, they said he might not play again.
Really?
Yeah, with that knee injury. That's a game-time decision. I think if you have Todd Gurley, I think you be careful with that. We all know how his knees have been. Especially if you need a win this week. If you have a better option, stay away from Gurley. But I mean, a Julio and a Calvin Ridley, you can't really sit them in the lineup. I don't care who you're playing, especially that New Orleans defense. It's going to be a shootout. Usually those games are. See it, Saints and Atlanta. So,
but
fire them up.
But usually there's a different quarterback behind center when they're in those shootout games. And the last 2 games New Orleans has played with Taysom Hill behind center has looked a heck of a lot different.
Is Taysom Hill playing defense?
But the way the defense is playing is because of the way the offense is playing. You know what I'm saying? Like the defense is getting a lot, at least the last 2 games. I know it's been, I mean, it hasn't been the easiest of opponents, but I haven't been able to figure out how this game's going to play out just yet with how Atlanta just played last weekend against why am I blanking? Against Vegas when they put up over 40 points.
Yeah.
We saw Washington football team, we saw Atlanta Falcons, we saw Houston Texans put up 40 plus points last week. So it just adds more to that, the oddness of the 2020 season.
Yeah.
But
and then we also saw your boy Hollywood Brown score a nice garbage touchdown.
Yeah,
who threw him the ball? The kid from Penn State.
Yeah, McSorley, Trace. Yeah. It's funny. I remember when I was looking at the combine a few years ago, he actually was also as a defensive back, or they asked him to show up, I believe, as a defensive back for the combine, and he refused. And he's like, "I'm playing quarterback." And then Baltimore scooped him up. RG3,
the way RG3 played, let's be honest, it's time for him to retire.
He had the longest run since his rookie season. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I mean, at one point he was like 3 for 12. Oh, here we go. What was that?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
But he was 3 for 12 at one point, passing the ball. Now you lost my
well, let's just say it's a good thing. He just went to IR. Lamar Jackson's coming back from COVID, so let's just say it's a good thing that's happening.
Yeah, but back to RG3, it was kind of sad watching him out there. Not gonna lie.
In the run game, he was able to do some things. Like I said, what was it, a 51-yard run or something he had there?
Yeah. But the interception that he threw to who's our safety there?
Oh yeah, was it Minka?
No, it wasn't Minka. No. It was whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but it was either a safety or corner, and he jumped that route. He left his guy wide open and jumped that route to intercept it, and he literally stared the wide receiver down. It was so bad. I'm like, I think I sent a text message in one of our groups.
You did. I missed
because I had the over on that game, and I was pretty excited that they ran it back, but the over didn't hit, obviously. So
yeah, I was gonna put them in my DraftKings for my captain, my showdown for my 1.5 points, and I was upset and I didn't want to put them in there.
I put RG3 as my captain. Didn't work out.
Oh wow, okay, there you go.
Didn't work out, but
well, that brings us actually a good route. We're going to talk about our DraftKings segment in a moment. We're going to jump right into.
We can talk about that now.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about. Well, I also want to talk about. Everybody, make sure you're following us on Twitter. You can find us at Dynasty Mafia _FF. Make sure you're following myself at Antonio and FF. You can follow Kenan at Kenan _716, and make sure to follow Eric at Eric D 716. Oh, geez, why did I blank on Eric's handle? I'll double check on that too. But YouTube as well. Make sure you're checking us out on youtube.com /Dynasty Mafia Podcast. And Eric D _FF is where you can follow him.
He's going to be really upset when he listens to this.
Yeah, I was meshing you and him. But this is why I have the names on the screen so that I can repeat that as I'm going through it all. But, of course, that's not the case. But watching on YouTube, make sure you are subscribing and sharing and giving us any 5-star reviews on any place you're listening to us.
Or 4. We'll take 4.
I'll take 4. I mean, I'll take 3. 3's better than half. But any feedback's always welcome. And make sure you're checking out the website Dynasty Mafia Podcast.network. Got some good stuff going for you there, as we are also adding a new member to our crew. For our returning listeners, you probably heard Jeremy Popolars was on as our guest last week, and at Pope's FHH. Man, I'm really struggling today with the Twitter handles. Pope's Fantasy Football Hour, FFH, yeah. But
or
he's
football, or football minute, whatever.
But yeah, he's gonna join us as well. Help with our content. So we're excited for that. So we are now.
It'll be a big off season this year.
Yeah, there's gonna be a really, really big off season. So let's talk DFS.
Yeah, why don't you go first? What do you got?
I would love to. So this one was kind of tough for me, and obviously we're talking tournaments, of course, and I really wanted to go big with the quarterback options when I was looking. This season, as we obviously know, the quarterbacks have been carrying everybody, but I really didn't like a lot of the matchups. Kyler's got the Rams, Russell Wilson's got the Giants. We just talked about how they've been doing. Herbert's going to have the Patriots, and Rodgers has Philly, who's also been doing well against the pass. So the top line quarterbacks, I don't know if anyone's going to have an amazing 4-touchdown week, but I went with Jared Goff. He's down there at 5,800. He's pretty cheap. So Jared Goff's my quarterback. For my 2 running backs, well, I probably should read it. It's a quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, a tight end, flex, and defense on DraftKings. So I went with Miles Sanders and David Montgomery as my running backs. Both have great matchups. Definitely going to talk about both of them a little bit later. But they're somewhat on the medium scale. Miles Sanders, at least, and the David Montgomery's on a pretty low scale, $5,500. I love that value. I'm sure they're going to try to ride him against Detroit. And then I talked about DK maybe struggling this week. So Tyler Lockett's my top wide receiver. I have Justin Jefferson in there with Adam Thielen coming back from COVID. I think they're going to take care of Jacksonville. And then Kiki QT.
He's been eating.
He's been eating. He's going to start eating now that, I was excited to talk about how healthy Will Fuller's been all season and how great and how much I regretted not investing into him this year. But, just got hit with that 6-game suspension for PEDs.
This might be the time to invest in them, though, in a Dynasty League.
Yes, exactly.
They did come out today and say that they were going to re-sign him.
Yeah, they have to. He's so good, and I think he's kind of taken off some of the injury prone for the people who like that tag. He's taken that off a little bit.
You don't like Wilson? You don't like Wilson against the Giants too, right? You said because that Giants defense.
I don't think he's going to have that 3 or 4 touchdown week, especially for DFS.
Okay.
Just kind of similar to how it's just as of late, he just hasn't been playing the same that we've been expecting forever. I mean, he's still the 3rd quarterback overall, but the last 3 weeks he's only had just under 12, 20, and then over 14 points. So
yeah, he did this last year too.
He did, and if you look at it, it's actually his toughest stretch of quarterback defenses.
Yeah.
Of the season, and he's doing the worst. So it's going to lighten up after the Giants. He'll get the Jets, and then the football team won't be too hard. I think they're also good. And it's East, man.
Yeah, and then they got the Rams too. Their championship week. So
yes, they do. But I'll end up here. So I got Robert Tonyan as my tight end. Went really, really low with that. We talked last week a touchdown, or we'll talk a little later. A touchdown usually gets you tight end 1 potential. And then Austin Eckler in the flex, who's getting a lot of catches, 11 receptions now in the last 2 games he's played, and the Raiders at the Jets for my defense.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Hopefully, hopefully you win some money there.
Yeah, let me run through that real quick one more time. So Jared Goff, Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, Tyler Lockett, Justin Jefferson, Kiki QT, Robert Tonyan, Austin Eckler, and the Raiders defense.
Yeah, when I looked at the quarterback position, I kind of thought the same thing. I didn't know. I usually like to put a Murray there or a Russell Wilson or Allen, but not this week. I went with Ryan Tannehill. He's been up and down this year, but he's playing those Browns, and they're ranked 23rd against quarterbacks this year. So, Tannehill usually gets those 2 to 3 touchdowns a game, so he's got a pretty good team there. around him. Dalvin Cook as my running back against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's 27th ranked against running backs. Then I went with Austin Eckler. A little bit of a gamble there playing New England, but I think Herbert playing a Bill Belichick defense, and we know how Bill Belichick is against rookie quarterbacks. I think he's going to count on Eckler with those little dump down passes, and he did this past week where Eckler against the Bills felt like he touched the ball every play.
Because Trey shut down a wide receiver, just like I think Gilmore might do.
Yeah, so yeah, I think Eckler eats again. Brandon Cooks is one of my running back or wide receivers, excuse me. I think he's that wide receiver one there in Houston for the rest of the season with Fuller being suspended. Darnell Mooney, he hasn't really been Darnell Mooney that we saw in the beginning of the season, but I think against Detroit, and I think that who's their quarterback? Not Foles. Who's playing this week? Trubisky. He's really good against Detroit for some reason his whole career. So I think they have a really good game there. And then at wide receiver, I have both LA wide receivers actually. At flex, I have Cooper Kupp and I have Robert Woods. I think if they have a really good game, both of them, look what they did a couple weeks ago. One had 10 and one had 12 receptions. And my tight end is Robert Tonyan as well. We talked about how Philly struggles covering tight ends. And Tonyan has had a couple big games with a couple touchdowns last couple games. So watch for him to keep that going. And my defense is the Detroit Lions. Let me scroll down. Who are they playing? They're playing the Bears. So
the Bears.
Yeah, so, and we know how Trubisky is. Even though I just said that he plays well against Detroit, but look what he did this past week.
He plays fantasy well.
Yeah, he plays fantasy well. You're almost guaranteed a pick six or a fumble recovery for a touchdown. I don't know. He just hasn't learned, I guess, over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that's why I'm hoping they're going to lean on Montgomery a little bit more.
Hey, how about that game they'll buy him?
I know. What a great game.
Yeah, he's starting. I'm kicking myself for – you're kicking yourself for not getting Fuller. I'm kicking myself for not believing in Montgomery. I kind of forgot about him, though, when the season started. I was like, whatever. They have Cohen there or whatever. They'll be splitting carries. But, man, if you got him, you got yourself a top running back, and you didn't have to invest a lot in him.
Yeah, I was talking about him earlier this season for all of our listeners who listened to me earlier, and I mentioned make sure you grab him because of that great schedule, and I was been tweeting about him, and I never traded for him in any of the leagues. It just didn't kind of work, but I never traded him away. So
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter for me anyway. I'm not making any playoffs for the most part.
It was a rough year for you, man. Rough year.
Redrafts were just tough, man.
What are we gonna do after the season? It's time to regroup, huh?
Time to regroup and just pay attention to the Dynasty, my first love. But Montgomery, he's got Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, and Jacksonville to end the year. That's the 1st, 3rd, 17th, and 5th most points allowed at the position. He just had Green Bay, like Kenan said, who gives up the 2nd most points, and he put up 25.3 points. So Montgomery is going to do really well to end the year.
Who's their backup right now?
Ryan Nall. They rotated between him and like Lamar Miller.
Jesus.
So let's talk about a couple running backs, Kenan. All right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, why don't you finish reread your DraftKings lineup for everyone? Just run that down.
Let's see here. Did I exit out of it?
That's all right. You could.
Oh no, I got it right here. I'm sorry. It's behind a couple tabs here. Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler at running back, Brandon Cooks, Mooney, Woods at wide receiver, Robert Tonyan at tight end, Cooper Kupp at flex, and the Detroit Lions defense at defense.
I really like those both. I think we'll tweet that out and see if we can get some votes to see what people think.
You know what's going to happen? All these DFF lineup, they look great on paper. Every time I put them in, I'm like, I got to win a couple bucks on this lineup, and I always end up not doing too hot.
Yeah, I have not been I haven't been in the middle this year with DFS. I've either been hitting or I've been missing.
Yeah, I won a couple, but nothing big.
Yeah, last week I think I won like 150 this year. That was like the most. But big or not the big one, but last week I came in like 946 out of 60,000, so that was cool.
Yeah. Let me tell you a story. When before New York State banned daily fantasy, and then it was obviously legal, and then they banned it. But before they banned it, I played my first lineup ever. I was like, oh, I'll throw it in there, whatever. Won $700 on the first shot. Wow. I'm like, yo, this is easy.
I think I remember that.
This is easy. Let's do it every week, and haven't hit since. But
yeah,
but I'm still up. Couple, $2-3 maybe now, but I'm still up.
Oh man! All right. So DFS is done. I wanna move. I think I like that. I think we're gonna definitely adapt that into some future,
especially during the playoffs.
Yeah, especially in the playoffs. Yeah. That's what we look forward to. People like myself who aren't making the playoffs.
Well, no, I'm talking about NFL playoffs too, where there's no.
Oh yeah.
First couple weeks, the first 3 weeks, there's multiple games each week, so it's worth a shot if you have a couple bucks to spend.
Very true. All right, so let's slide over to a new segment. We're gonna call this Trend or End. So we're just gonna go over a couple comments here, statements, and kind of just get some feelers for it. So the first one I want to start out with is Josh Allen good without John Brown? He threw just 24 times last week. It was a win against the Chargers. It seemed like they did want to control the game more on the ground. I think they had like 24 rushes in the first half, 13 rushes and 13 passes. I'm sorry, 26 plays in the first half. And then they came out in the second half and they only threw it 11 more times. So they were controlling the game, but without John Brown this season, Josh Allen has not been performing well. Hasn't had higher than a 23-point game without him. So what do you think?
I think he'll be fine. This past game, it's easy to say that he struggled if you just look at the numbers, but if you actually watch the whole game, like you just mentioned, they ran the ball 24 times. When they run the ball, when they throw the ball a lot more than when they throw the ball a lot more than they run the ball, Allen plays really well. It was just a game script, trying to keep that. At least everyone knows the Chargers have a great, pass defense, especially with Bosa. So I guess it was just trying to make sure that Allen didn't get hurt, which he ended up getting hurt. He rolled his ankle. So I think even after that, they ran the ball more than they wanted to, just to keep him, healthy. But I think he'll be fine. I don't think they still have such great wide receivers with Beasley, Diggs, and that young running wide receiver struggling over here. Gabriel Davis, yeah.
They do, and I misspoke. He has one game above 20 points. Sorry, but there's four of those 5 games though. He has 18.5 or less. And
who did he play though? The Titans,
Titans, Chiefs, Jets, and the Chargers last week.
Yeah.
But against wide receivers, they're all good matchups. So yes, you're right. I mean, he stretches the field. That's what John Brown's there for. But I think perhaps, I have to look a little more into this, but perhaps they were running the ball a little more, controlling the clock a little more in those games because those were high power offenses.
Yeah.
Well, Tennessee, they know they got ahead real quick. And then Tennessee kind of fought their way back.
And then
the Chiefs were the same way.
The Chiefs game was pouring out.
That's true. Yeah, bad weather.
And then also the Jets game, McDermott and the coaching staff came out. That was our game plan: run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. As a Josh Allen supporter and fan, I always want them to throw the ball and make him look good for the national media. But if you sit down and watch those 4 games, I think it was a lot of game plan behind it. It had nothing to do really with the coaching staff not trusting Allen or Allen struggling those games, because I think he's played pretty well this season. And the only game I'd probably say he played really bad was that Titans game, but he still played all right.
Yeah, and that's that's the worry with the schedule coming up is at San Francisco on Monday night, then home to Pittsburgh, at Denver, and then at New England to end the season. So you hope they can get it together. You hope that John Brown.
It's a tough schedule.
It is a tough schedule, but you hope that with John Brown IR now missing at least 2 more games.
One more, right?
Or one more. Sorry, no,
2 more. Two more.
So one more game for that. So, I agree. I think I'm on the side of, you got to play your Diggs, you got to play your Josh Allen, but that's probably it.
Yeah.
So, all right. We were talking in the beginning of the show about Kyler Murray finally being human, having his worst game of the season last week against New England after having his second worst game of the season 2 weeks ago against Seattle. Is it time to worry about Kyler Murray?
Blueprints out. We talked about Lamar. Blueprints out. No, I'm just kidding. With Murray, I don't know if that. I mean, we talked about it here in Buffalo when Allen suffered a shoulder injury against. Doesn't matter who, but we're all worried about it, and he struggled a couple games. We're like, all right, maybe it's a shoulder or whatever. But I mean, if it's the same injury as Sam Darnold has, but in the opposite in his non-throwing hand, I guess, arm, I would still be worried, just because
he's running.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I would be really concerned. I watch him this week, see how he performs, but those shoulder injuries are really concerning when it comes to running backs or quarterbacks. Jesus.
But quarterbacks that run too. I mean, that's basically what you're saying. I mean, he had his second lowest passing yards of the season last week, and he had his tied for lowest amount of rushes and third lowest rush yards. So
Belichick has a lot to do with that too.
So Belichick does. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm wondering, though, is it Belichick or was it also the defense? Because these next 5 games, including New England that he just had, none of them are worse than 12th against the pass, against quarterbacks. I'm sorry. So he's got a very, very tough schedule to end the year. And if he's not going to run and the throwing won't be, 3 touchdown games, you're going to see a little bit more. The guy you've been having all season, the guy who was the quarterback 1 for all season, he could really hurt you.
Yeah, I think that's a huge red flag there for me.
Yeah, it's a little scary to think about. So I mean, you're hoping he gets it together, but if they're going to lean on Kenyon Drake like they've been, and it's going to be a different story. All right, so do we have a broken promise from Michael Thomas?
What do you mean?
You've had managers who drafted him this year, and they've held out hope after week 1 when he got injured so soon. Hold on hope all season that he's going to come back. He comes back. Then he gets suspended. Then he comes back. Then he gets injured again. Then he comes back, and Taysom Hill is in. I mean, how many broken promises have we gotten from this guy this year? And I'm wondering, are we going to see it anymore? Like, are we done with him for this season? Has Taysom Hill ruined him and Alvin Kamara? And before you tell me how is he ruined, he's gotten 18 targets in the last 2 weeks. Well, 9 catches for 104 yards may sound like a great game to wide receivers, but that's, just over 10 yards a catch for Michael Thomas. And he's not doing that well. And he only had 6 targets last week against Denver. What the hell, Kenan?
Oh man. Yes. He's definitely. I wish I would have traded him to you when you asked me to trade him to you in like week 3. Is Breeze coming back next week? Is that the rumor?
No, I don't know. I think he might. Well, it could be the rumor. I haven't looked too far into that one. I'll vet that while you're asking.
Yeah,
I mean, IR eligible wise, yes, he's able to come back, but I don't know injury wise if he is.
Yeah, so you got to play him no matter what, right? As long as he's healthy and in the lineup, you can't bench Michael Thomas, can you?
Yeah, you can't bench him. You definitely can't. And I mean, obviously he's playing Atlanta this week. You're hoping for a really great game, but if New Orleans decides that they're just going to run the ball with Taysom Hill and Latavius Murray, then that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big problem. That's where you're going to get your 6 target Michael Thomas, and the guy you're hoping is your wide receiver 1 is going to wind up being your flex. So it's unfortunate, but
he did have a good game. His first game, or case what's the quarterback's name? Hill.
Taysom,
yeah, Taysom Hill. I don't know why I wanted to say Taysom Hill or whatever, but
he did.
But he had a really good game, and he made Hill look really good. Some of the throws that Hill threw to Michael Thomas, I was like, "Whoa, well, good thing you're throwing to Michael Thomas, because if you were throwing that to me, it'd be in your end zone for 6." Well, that's why I'm in my basement and Michael Thomas on the football field. But he did make Hill look really good, and they did target him, which is a great sign. So,
yeah, they did, and that way he got like 12 of the 23 targets. What'd you say?
But they did target Thomas, but they didn't target Kamara. I'd be more worried about Kamara than Thomas.
Yeah, 3 targets in the last 2 games for a total of negative 2 yards.
Yikes.
It's like Latavius Murray out-touched him with the 2 touchdowns and the 100-plus yards. He was my stress last week. I really didn't want it. I said I didn't want it, but you can kind of see the writing on the walls. It's unfortunate. But I don't know. Same thing with Michael Thomas that we just said with Alvin. Same thing with Alvin Kamara. We said with Thomas, you have to start him if you have him. You can't sit him. It's just really painful. And yeah, I'm glad you didn't trade me Michael Thomas. I tried in every single league I was in to get Michael Thomas, and I was turned down by so many people. I wasn't overpaying for him, and I'm really glad I didn't.
I traded Thomas for Tyreek Hill in the league. That's turned out really well for me. So
that's a great segue too, because I want to talk about Tyreek Hill and his first 25 minutes of the game, Kenan. Like, the guy just, was it 215 yards and 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, well, I'm going to need him to do that again this week. That'd be nice. I'm playing Alex Caloza. Shout out to Alex. And I don't want to be Pizza Boy. So,
yeah, between you and I.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't get to watch that game live. I saw the highlights. What the hell? Can I just say that? Like, did they want to cover one of the best wide receivers in the league, or
they had,
or was he just having one of those games where no matter what you did, he was getting open?
It was a combination of both. It really was it was a combination of both. He had a 75-yard touchdown right in the beginning, and then he had a 44-yard touchdown right after, like literally the drive right after that. Then they fumbled, then they had a field goal, and then the second quarter he came in. That was on the first quarter, by the way. The second quarter he came in. Yeah, that was on the first quarter. In the second quarter he had like a 20-yard touchdown.
Just think about it. If you had a great player who performed really good in the 1 o'clock games. Trying to think who had a good game
in general.
In general, just who had a really good game in the 1 o'clock games.
Oh, Will Fuller had a great game.
Oh, Henry. Think about if you had Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, think about if you had Derrick Henry in the 1 o'clock. You're sitting there, 4 o'clock games are about to start. You're looking pretty. You're like, all right, I think I got it. And then your opponent has Tyreek Hill.
Oh, Justin Jefferson. Let's say you had him too. Yeah, I was looking at Thanksgiving games. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's actually what happened to me in a few leagues. I didn't have Derrick Henry, but I had Justin Jefferson. I had Will Fuller. I was doing really well, and then Tyreek Hill and Darren Waller.
Eric had to play me this past week, and I had Henry and Hill. I put up a 200 bomber on him.
Jeez. Yeah, it was nice to see the scoring come back in, and Aaron Rodgers had 4 touchdowns. They had 4 first half touchdowns for the second straight game.
Yeah, they're
on fire. They had 27 points in the first half.
I thought that game was going to be a lot closer.
I thought it would be closer a little longer than it was.
It was over in the first quarter.
Yeah, it was done real quick.
You think they fired our coach? Think they restart?
I think they're going to have to.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to. If not, someone's got to, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be the GM.
Yeah. So I don't want to go off on tangent here and off fantasy football, but it's a lot easier to fire your coach and get rid of your quarterback if you're the Bears. Where if you're the Eagles, you're kind of screwed because you have that big Wentz contract and your coach just won a Super Bowl. So you're going to have to fire your coach if you want to do anything because you can't just get rid of Wentz.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
I wonder what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's a lot of teams. It's going to be a lot of question marks with how good this potential class is going to be. So I can't wait to dive into that into the offseason. So talking about Tyreek Hill, who's your number 1 wide receiver in the league right now?
Tyreek Hill.
Is it?
Yeah.
I still think
Are you talking about like Dynasty, or are you just talking about
just in general? Like, who is your number one?
Tyreek Hill. I've said it, a couple weeks ago when you were worried about him. That offense is just so explosive, and yeah, he might not get the receptions one week, but he's almost guaranteed. He is guaranteed a touchdown a game, pretty much.
That's what he's over that now. Yeah, he's over that average now that he's been doing it.
Well, I think he's actually scored a touchdown every game besides one this year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So
that sounds about right.
And that's what you need. You need a touchdown, a couple receptions. You're looking at a 15-point game, and that's usually,
Yeah, I think I still have to go with Devontae Adams just because of the higher targets. But it's so close. It really is so close.
And we know what Eric would go Adams as well. He's a big Adams fan. So.
Yeah, I wish I bought more of him last season. All right, so how about
what about some of these running backs? What about Cam Akers?
There we go. How about Cam Akers? Yeah, how about that one? Is he ready to break out? Is Cam Akers going to be a trend? He had a 61-yard run in the third quarter. Didn't really have much before that, but then got almost all the carries the rest of the game. Had a touchdown the week before. I mean, is it time?
It was time week 1, but
that's for sure.
But yeah, it's time. Come on. I mean, he's clearly the most talented running back they got, both pass catching and running. You spent a high draft pick to get him. What's holding you back?
Yeah, I don't get it. He had the receiving touchdown 2 weeks ago, unlimited carries, but then, like I said last week, had the 61-yard run. So he only had 23 yards on 8 carries after that. But again, got the touchdown. I mean, it's what they need. They still lost the game, but he was in, and that's what matters to me. So they get to play Arizona, New England, the Jets, and Seattle. They're going to want to control it, like you said. They like to run the ball a lot. They're one of the heaviest in the league, so they're going to want to keep doing that.
Surprisingly, I looked at all my Yahoo leagues, and he wasn't available in almost any league besides 2 of them. So
yeah, he's only 42% owned in Yahoo, but you're right. All of my leagues too, he wasn't there. I almost used him as my stream this week. Speaking of which, if you want to check out our stream both, I think we're gonna get those just in a few minutes. So we'll get to our streams in a moment. But yeah, Cam's going to be a good one, I think. I think you should definitely be adding him or trying to trade for him if your deadline didn't go up just yet. All right.
Why don't you talk about Ronald Jones here for a little bit?
I think Ronald Jones is a good one we should talk about. I think he's a good.
Can you trust Bruce Arians?
So Bruce Arians said that Ronald Jones needs to get 20 touches a week. And
I wish I was. Sorry to interrupt you. I wish I was in that room when he said that. I would be like, Bruce, who's stopping you? What's stopping you? You're the coach.
Yeah, you're calling the plays, man. Like, I don't understand. But do you agree, though, that Ronald Jones is the back there? Like, is there a chance that you could see Fournette supplanting him, at least in this playoff run?
Oh, I dropped him.
Yeah.
I'm done with Fournette. I held on to him, this whole time, thinking that I'm one fumble away from him and an RB1. And even when Fournette is in there, he's dropping passes from Brady. He's not hitting the holes. I don't know what's going on with him. Especially last year, he had such a great year in Jacksonville. And then even besides that one game where I actually played you that week and beat you because Ronald Jones fumbled. And I was like, all right, here we go. Fournette's getting the touches. He's getting the receptions. But he hasn't shown anything, really, in that offense.
Yeah. Could you imagine how Jones would be doing if they hadn't signed Fournette? Like, he's very close to 1,000 total yards, and he's got 6 touchdowns, and this is with Fournette splitting carries with him for almost 6 weeks now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish we could have seen a world where Ronald Jones maybe had gotten the full workload the last 5-6 weeks, because 2 weeks ago we saw him get, the 192 rushing yards on his, 25 total touches. But then he comes back the following week to get 10 for 24. You can't rely on that. So what is he to you the rest of the season? Is he an RB2, a flex?
He's a 2. He's got to be. I mean, if their coach is saying he needs 20 touches a game, I'm expecting him to get 20 touches a game the rest of the year.
Yeah,
that's true. You can't say that and then come back and give him 4 carries and 3 targets.
Yeah, I hope they keep giving him the ball. I think they're going to need to. They're scheduled the next week or so. Well, they have a bye this week, so you have to start relying on them on the playoffs.
Is this a late bye? Did it usually have week 13 buys?
I think it's usually the last week. If it's not week 12, I think it might have been week 12 because of Thanksgiving. That maybe they didn't. But I know there was no
I don't remember ever having,
right before playoffs.
Yeah, I never remember dealing with buys that because I'm in a league where I need a win to make the playoffs, and I'm having a buy issue.
Yeah,
there, but I don't know.
That's true.
It's weird.
One last thing, trying to end here. Deshaun Watson. So we mentioned Will Fuller, who's out with PEDs. He's got Brandon Cooks. He's got Kiki QT. Deshaun Watson's kind of been coming into his own lately. Is he going to continue to be a top 5 quarterback like he's been?
What's his schedule look like?
Deshaun Watson. Well, so Houston has. They have Indianapolis this week, which would be a little test for him, but. Then he's at Chicago, at Indy again, and then home to Cincinnati. But the last 4 weeks rather, he's had at least actually, now that I'm looking at it, since week 5, he's had at least 26 plus points and 4 points per touchdown. Yeah,
it's really good.
And 60 in the last 70 in the last 2 weeks. So 300 plus yards and 6 total touchdowns, 7 total touchdowns.
Imagine if he had a Hopkins there.
Yeah, that'd be real weird if he had like number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, or number 2 that didn't get suspended. But I think we're seeing Deshaun Watson take that next step. I really do. I wasn't a big fan coming out of college, out of Clemson there. I didn't think – I don't know what it is. With running style quarterbacks, I'm not a big fan. I wasn't a big fan of Allen early on in his career. But Watson, Allen, Murray have all grown on me. I guess it might be just the style of football that we're seeing now, and teams it's not that pocket passer anymore. But I think Watson, he's really good, even without a Hopkins or his other wide receiver that just got suspended. I can't think of his name for the love of God.
Will Fuller.
Will Fuller, Notre Dame product. Speaking of my Irish. Our Irish. Yeah, they're number 2 in the country. But I think he'll be fine. I think especially because that team falls behind in most games, and you'll need Deshaun Watson to make plays to keep your team in the game.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Cooks is going to fill those shoes of Will Fuller. Since Bill O'Brien was fired after week 4, he was at least going into week 12. He was 10th in catches, 8th in yards, and 11th in PPR points. So he's averaging 17.
Way to take my notes from my impressed for this week.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm just kidding.
You're going to talk about him. That's for sure. But so let's actually just slide right into our stresses and impresses. Kenan, why don't you get us started with your impresses? We'll have these 2 close out our show.
Well, we talked about all 3 players so far.
We definitely talked about a lot of players already. That are going to be coming up.
Yeah, well, my first one's David Montgomery versus Detroit. Like we said, it was great to see him break out this past week against a very, very bad Green Bay run defense. I expect that to carry over this week. He's playing Detroit, who allows the most fantasy points for opposing running backs. 5th in rushing yards allowed in the NFL with over almost 1,500 yards. They allowed, 14 rushing touchdowns and 21 total touchdowns to running backs this season. And so I see David Montgomery having a really good week against Detroit. Second one, we just talked about him, Brandon Cooks. I expect him to be that number 1 wide receiver now there in Houston because of Will Fuller being suspended. And we forgot to mention Kenny Stills was released after the Thursday night game. But the Colts defense, I think they're a little overrated. They've struggled against against the pass, and they've struggled against, the other team's wide receiver one. Devontae Adams in week 11 and A.J. Brown in week 12 had at least 98 yards receiving and a touchdown and at least 19 PPR points. So I see that trend continuing with Cooks. My last one is Devontae Parker versus Cincinnati. We talked about, with that quarterback issue, is Tua playing, is Fitzy playing? Doesn't matter. I think Devontae Parker has a great game against that very, very suspect Bengals pass defense, who has allowed 9 receivers to score at least 12 PPR points in their last 5 games. So they're almost letting two wide receivers get double-digit PPR points per game for the last 5 games. So I see Devontae Parker having a great week against the Bengals.
Yeah, he was gonna be one of my impresses as well. Like I said, I had Fitz as my stream, so pretty happy with the Dolphins. I think we're gonna be this week. So let me move over to my impresses. It is my guy, my man, Justin Jefferson, coming off his 2-touchdown week without Adam Thielen. Now that Adam Thielen's coming back, they are playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just got torched by Jarvis Landry. My man looked like the superstar elite player out there, having 8 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown. So I think Justin Jefferson is going to eat. Adam Thielen, yeah, he's going to have a good game.
He's the best rookie player this year, hands down.
Yeah, I think besides James Robinson, I think he's the second best rookie of all position.
I think he's number one. I really do.
Yeah, I will definitely respect that because I love him. So I'm so excited for him, and he's gonna have a taste for blood this week. Second is going to be another rookie wide receiver, Chase Claypool against the Washington football team. Washington has proved to have a really good pass defense, but Pittsburgh having 3 top wide receivers like they do, plus you have a James Washington in there. I don't think that they're going to be able to be contained. We saw Claypool getting targeted heavily in the end zone by Roethlisberger last week. We saw him getting the touchdowns as he's been all season, as he just added another one, or as he added 3 in the last 3 weeks. But he's had at least 50-plus yards, and like I said, he's going to get the touchdowns. He's got 8 on the season. He's bound to get some more, and with Washington being tough against the pass, I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to rely on his number 3 wide receiver, Chase Claypool. My final impress is going to be Miles Sanders at Green Bay, another one of my guys, another player that I've been hoping all season can finally pull it together and really have that breakout. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it fully. I mean, he's had a great long touchdown run back in week 5, but really nothing since. Now he gets a Green Bay defense who's second worst against the run for fantasy points. So I think that he's going to be able to come back and do really well. I think he rides on Carson Wentz's shoulders. Negative game scripts have not been too well for him, but with Green Bay, he's going to be involved in the passing game. Carson Wentz, I think, is going to be on fire and going to want to try to beat Green Bay. They are still in contention for the playoffs. They're traveling up there. I think it's going to be a big game for Carson Wentz.
I want them to fire their coach so bad. Now that
they're not going to fire Peters.
Now that they just don't use Sanders the right way. He should be used like Alvin Kamara.
He definitely should get him.
And it would help their quarterback situation out. And it would help the rookie and young wide receiver core that they have. And it would help their tight ends that are great at blocking. Both of them, Goddard and Ertz.
He definitely should get more in the pass. He is getting used somewhat, not as much as he was last year. He's getting 20-plus touches 2 out of the last 3 weeks, though. But I agree with you, of course. I think they do need to feed him the ball. I think he's one of the most talented running backs in the league. But, Philly has only allowed 1 passing touchdown in the last 4 weeks. This is why I think that's how they're going to attack Green Bay. They're going to make Green Bay use Aaron Jones. And Philly's going to want to use Miles Sanders. That's how I'm hopefully seeing this week. So
hope so.
Justin Jefferson, Chase Claypool, and Miles Sanders. And I'm going to run over to Eric's impresses. He did at least provide us with some impresses and stresses. So
my man does the work even when he's not on the show.
Here in spirit.
Yeah.
So Eric has Devontae Booker versus the Jets. He had Josh Jacobs, filled that one in there. That's a pretty easy slot. Lamar Jackson against the Cowboys.
Yuck.
And Adam Thielen against the Jaguars.
Yeah.
All right. Kenan, why don't you talk about Actually, let me run through Eric's stresses.
Sure.
And then we'll get to ours. So Eric's stresses is Brandon Cooks.
I just saw that. Wow.
Brandon Cooks against the Colts.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake versus the Rams, and Matt Ryan against the Saints.
So take that
for what you will. You better, man. Tell him right now.
This is 2 weeks in a row. He's coming after my stress or my impress. 2 weeks in a row.
I know. I think you won last week.
Of course I did.
All right, buddy. Who's your stresses?
Yeah. Zeke Elliott versus Baltimore. Listen, people. I'm not sitting Elliott in leagues, but listen. I know the Ravens might be without their standout run stopper, Brandon Williams, with that ankle injury. He was out this past week. He might be out again this week. But, I mean, that offensive line is pretty beat up. Zach Martin, Irving, the other guy who's out with a knee injury. So the offensive line is pretty beat up, so don't expect Elliott to be able to run the ball. And Elliott has 2 games with more than 8 PPR points in 6 games without Dak Prescott. And he's got only 1 touchdown in that span. Isn't that insane? Imagine drafting Elliott 3rd overall, 2nd overall, whatever you did. And you gotten 8 points in the last 6 games from him. So would you bench him if you have a better option? I know you're looking at the name Zeke Elliott. Do you want to bench him, Antonio?
Do I want to? Of course. Can you? Absolutely not.
Yeah, just because of the potential.
I mean, we said he was going to kill some managers the last few weeks if you're trying to get in the playoffs with him.
Yeah. Would you start Wayne Gallman or Elliott right now?
You got to start Elliott, especially because of Jones going down.
Yeah.
But how about? Well, you're not going to run into that. What about Gaskin or Zeke?
I mean, if Gaskin was healthy last week and he played last week, I'd probably say Gaskin. Just I don't know what they're going to do, him coming off that injury. Because they did take him off IR last week, right? And then they still didn't play him.
Correct. And I think that was for good reason. So that's why, I mean, it was the Jets. So that's why I do think that he might be back this week full strength. Yeah. I would play Gaskin over Zeke. But I know it's not the likely one.
Yeah.
How about Antonio Gibson at Pittsburgh against
Zeke? I think I go Gibson. I really do.
I think that's fair. Now that I'm actually looking at some rankings, people got him pretty low.
Yeah.
So wow,
it's something to think about. He's been very, very disappointing this season, and I mean he's got a lot of excuses to use if
he does.
So I mean, my second one is Darius Slayton. He's playing the Seahawks. Seems like a great matchup against the Seahawks, but you can't start him with Colt McCoy under center with Daniel Jones being out. Slayton has had no catches in 2 targets in week 12 versus Cincinnati. I mean, it's hard. Like I said earlier, it's hard to see Colt McCoy slinging the ball up and down that field. Yes, Seattle's number 1 in fantasy points allowed to receivers, but the Seahawks haven't allowed a receiver to score a touchdown in 3 straight games. The Rams, Cardinals, and Eagles did not score. A wide receiver did not score a touchdown, which looks like the Seahawks defense has turned it around a little bit there. So keep an eye on those on the Seahawks defense. My last one's Tyler Boyd. I love Tyler Boyd. Don't love him without Joe Burrow. He's playing Miami. First game without Burrow with that ACL injury was a bad one for Boyd in week 12. 3 catches on 15 yards on 6 targets. And Miami's secondary is no joke. Antonio, I don't know if you heard about this cornerback, Xavier Howard. My man, his name's not Xavier, but whatever his name is, starts with an X. But he's still my man. He's still my man. I like him.
And at the end there,
I like him. He's shut down a lot of great wide receivers for that very underrated Miami defense. And I've given Miami defense a lot of crap the last few weeks, saying that their luck was going to run out, and they played well. Xavier Howard, ladies and gentlemen.
Xavier Howard. There you go.
What do you got?
All right.
Whoa. I see Antonio Gibson's on your stress. We're going to start him over Elliott?
Well, he is my stress, and let's talk about him now that we're bringing him into the spotlight. He's playing in Pittsburgh, but Zeke himself is at Baltimore, so you're really kind of picking the lesser of two evils. But the reason I'm going with Gibson scored in 5 straight games when it comes to that one.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I do think he's going to be a big stress because look at what he's done over the last 3 weeks, Kenan. He's had 22.5, 17.4, 36.6. He's been unstoppable. He's been lifting teams into the playoffs that needed it. I'm upset that I don't have more Antonio Gibson, but you are now coming off 10 days rest, coming off a career breakout game against a Dallas team who is not too well. You're playing Pittsburgh now.
Yeah.
They are the second worst team against the run, best team against the run. Sorry. They're a top 10 team against the pass. Alex Smith is going to struggle, I think, which is going to mean Antonio Gibson is going to struggle. He's going to be playing a lot. I expect him to. But with the negative game script, unless he's breaking out these long runs like he's doing, I don't see Washington moving the ball very well going into the red zone. We just saw somewhat of what Baltimore is doing. I think that's similar of what you could see happening to Washington. My other one, though, Kenan, I'm going heavy this week.
I see that. I'm excited.
DK Metcalf is my other stress.
Wow.
So the Giants, as we talked about earlier, had been a pretty good passing defense. They've only allowed 300-yard receivers, 2 of which were on the same team to Washington. And they're getting it together at the right time with 3 straight wins and 4 of their last 6. Now, unfortunately, Daniel Jones is gone. So that kind of puts a wrench in anything offensively that you're thinking about. But the defense is still there. If the Giants are going to try to control the clock, not so well as they hope, but this is what happens with the Seahawks. You usually flip-flop between Lockett and Metcalf, and I think this week's going to be a Lockett week.
Hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too, because I'm playing DK in a few leagues this week. But I think that we're going to see James Bradbury do cover Metcalf, and it's gonna be tough for them. So I mean, 4 catches and 90 yards. That's a bad game in my mind to DK Metcalf. And that's the kind of game I think might happen.
Yeah. I want to come back to DK after your last stress.
Yeah, we can do that. My last stress is going to be Kareem Hunt at Tennessee. We see Nick Chubb taking over. Kareem was still getting some work. I mean, he's had double-digit carries every week of the season, but having 10 for 62 last week is not what you're looking for, even in a game where they were close with beating Jacksonville. They're at Tennessee this week. I think that Chubb's going to run all over Tennessee, which means Kareem Hunt might not be needed just as much. But I think Kareem Hunt's going to be using the red zone too. And Kareem might be able to get you a few passes, but I wouldn't expect more than 12 or 13 touches and 75 total yards again.
Yeah.
So you need that touchdown from him.
Yeah, I'm thinking of benching Hunt this week too.
Yeah, he's a flex at best for me.
Yeah, I have Chubb, Hunt, and Henry. Those are my 3 running backs. Right. And just he hasn't done anything since, even when Chubb was hurt, he underperformed in my opinion. I was expecting a little bit more.
Yeah, it's because he wasn't getting touchdowns anymore. You're right. But you're going to go to DK right now. One thing I forgot to mention, he had 3 of his last 6 games. He's either had over 100 or under 50 yards. So that's where you're running into the issues with DK.
Yeah. My question to you is, AJ Brown or DK Metcalf? Who's the better wide receiver?
Oh, it's AJ Brown.
Yeah. Okay. Because I ran into a couple buddies of mine were talking about it, and I read through their conversation, and they all said DK, and I thought they were wrong. I think AJ Brown's a lot better than DK, actually.
I think if you put AJ Brown in Seattle, he would be just as explosive as we're seeing Metcalf. He's a lot better route runner. And then vice versa, you put Metcalf on Tennessee, he might be able to do some of the long throws that.
Metcalf on Tennessee, you know who he is? Corey Davis.
Yeah. Yep, we both. Yeah. That's true.
There's a lot working for Metcalf in Seattle.
He's really good, man. He is really, really good, but Russell Wilson is also a big proponent of why
it's not just Russell Wilson. He's got a better coach, in my opinion. He's got not a run game better, I guess, but he's got Lockett on the other side of him. Russell Wilson, the better, quarterback, and I think the Seahawks in general are better than the Titans. So
yeah, neither of them really throw a crazy amount. I mean, well, Russell's been throwing a bit more this year, but yeah, they're both efficient. They're both great, and it's gonna be a real nice time watching those two guys mature and be able to play.
Yeah, I think DK's in a perfect spot, honestly, for him to be successful.
I agree.
Because he's not a true number one. Takes that pressure.
I think he is.
I'm saying he's not a true number one on that team, really.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm saying fantasy wise, yes, on that team he's not a true number one. We'll lock it.
Well, you're right though, because everyone when they can win games with him not scoring, not getting 50 yards, those other teams on there. So, I think that's going to wrap everything up for our episode. So our first time with just two of us on here, I think we wound up getting pretty deep with some talking here, and I liked it.
Hour and 10 minutes, I think. Right? What do we got here?
Yeah, we're right up on an hour and 10 minutes. So.
Yeah, we thought that the show was going to go a lot shorter than an hour. So I think we talked about a lot, and we definitely missed Eric. Can't wait to have him back next week. And I got nothing else. You got anything else?
No, that's it. I'm excited for next week's playoff edition.
I actually got something for you. You excited to be Pizza Boy?
It's not going to happen. Kenan and I both 9th and 10th in our home redraft league and fighting for last place here.
Yeah, and
I play Eric. No, I just played Eric.
I don't know who you play. I play Colosa, who's the number one team in the league.
Yeah, you play the number one seed, and then I do play against Eric. So he's battling himself for the playoffs. So
come on, Eric.
It's gonna be a fun week next week. So
and no Thursday night game this week, so we got an extra Sunday game. It's gonna make. Oh, actually, we don't have it because they have 2 Monday night games. Never mind. I was gonna say Red Zone's gonna be popping, but he'll still be popping.
It'll still be popping. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. Good luck to your week 13. If you, I'm sure if you got a matchup you really need to win to get in the playoffs. I hope you do. Good luck though. Have a lot of fun and be confident with who you're starting. And make sure to hit us up on Twitter with any questions at Dynasty Mafia _FF. You could find me at Antonio Denisi FF, Kenan at Kenan _716, and Eric at Eric D _FF.
You got it.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. All right, everybody. Mafia out.